Liverpool are the FA Cup winners in 2022 after defeating Chelsea 6-5 on penalties in front of a packed Wembley Stadium. 90,000 people turned out today to watch this showpiece final, and what a final it was. Now, it was 0-0, and on paper it doesn't look like a great game, but if you haven't seen it, I urge you to watch the highlights, because it was a really enjoyable and gripping encounter in which both sides had the chances to win it. The pendulum kept swinging in this one, which was really interesting for me, because at the start of the first half it was all Liverpool. The way they started the game was incredible, and you felt like Chelsea were, in line for a drubbing. You really did. You were watching Liverpool cut them open, particularly on that left-hand side with Luis Diaz, time and time again. You saw Edouard Mendy called into action early on. There were a number of efforts that were just wide of his goal. But as the half went on, and as Chelsea started to grow into the game a little bit and find their feet, they began to then create chances of their own. And they made a good go of it. One in particular in the first half was one that fell to Christian Pulisic when the ball was cut back by Mason Mount, and he dragged it just wide of the far post. And then the second half started, and it was literally all Chelsea. It was the complete other way around. Chelsea were knocking on the door. Marcus Alonso going close from the left-hand side after taking a beautiful ball down on his chest and fashioning the angle to get off a shot. Then he hit the crossbar from a free kick. And at that point, you thought that Liverpool were in trouble. But again, Liverpool managed to fight back, and Liverpool managed to weather the storm and wrestle back control. But there were always opportunities at both ends of the pitch. You never at any point felt like either of these two sides were done. There wasn't a goal in the end, but both sides carried plenty of threat, I thought, and but for some disappointing finishing at various moments, we could have had a thriller, not just in terms of what we were watching, but in terms of the scoreline as well. That is as good a 0-0 draw, I think, as you'll see. I really do believe that, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Always hard when you lose on penalties. It's always difficult to swallow. It's always heartbreaking. And I think for Chelsea as well, having sort of initially missed a penalty kick after Azpilicueta hit the post, to then be on the brink of losing it, then watch Edouard Mendy deny Sadio Mane, and then that kind of relief and that celebration that you saw from Thomas Tuchel was down on the ground beating the grass, to then go and miss again shortly afterwards through Mason Mount, and then have Kostas Tsimikas step up and slot the ball in to win it for Liverpool must have been really difficult for the Chelsea supporters to take. It's a shame for Thomas Tuchel, because although they won the Club World Cup earlier in the season, domestically they've not managed to pick up any silverware despite reaching both domestic finals. This was the first time ever, I think, that both English clubs the two English finals were contested by the two same clubs, which is pretty incredible and is a testament to these two sides and how well they've done in the cup competitions. For Jurgen Klopp, this is the one that he was missing, the one that he needed to add to the collection. But had he missed out on winning this today, with an opportunity for Champions League glory, Premier League glory still even, and having already won the EFL Cup, nobody would have been looking at this and saying it was a disappointing season for Liverpool. However, from Chelsea's point of view, to end up with just the Club World Cup, which is obviously a big deal, but isn't seen within Europe, I don't think, as being as big as it maybe is in the rest of the world. I think Chelsea will look at this season and feel a little bit disappointed. They're going to finish third in the Premier League, which is pretty reasonable when you consider the level of both Manchester City and Liverpool and how difficult it is to get above either of those two sides. But having won the Champions League last season and having gone and signed Romelu Lukaku in a £100 million deal in the summer, I think a lot of people felt that they were going to push on and that they were going to start challenging for the Premier League title, and that they would be one of the very elite this season. And they haven't managed to do that. They've run Liverpool close in both finals, 2 penalty shootouts. You got to say, it's more from bad fortune than from not being good enough that Chelsea find themselves in this position. Just watching them now go and collect their runners-up medals, which is always a difficult walk to do. Liverpool now making their way up into the stand at Wembley as well to collect their trophy. But incredible achievement from Jurgen Klopp's side, because mentally, even when they look up against the ropes, they manage to find a way. They always do. He's built an absolute beast of a squad, in that he's got so many players that he can call upon who are at equal or similar levels to those that he starts the game with. The only disappointment will be for Liverpool today and for Jurgen Klopp will be that he lost Mo Salah in the first half to injury. With that Champions League final 14 days away, it looked like it might have been a groin issue, which is obviously a concern for Liverpool. Also, he lost Virgil van Dijk as well at the end of the 90 minutes. Now that can't be good and didn't look good. So although Liverpool are jumping up and down and celebrating, and as they should be, I'm sure that that's going to kind of take some of the shine off of what they've achieved today, because of the fact that they've still got so many big games of football to come. It's an incredible, monumental effort. They've played in every game they could have possibly played in so far this season, and will play in every game they could have possibly played in, because, as I say, they are in the Champions League final against Real Madrid on the 28th of May. But yeah, look, in the end, it was hard to pick a winner. I think on the overall balance of play, Liverpool probably just edged it, although Chelsea had their moments, had their opportunities, and had their spells too. Don't know what the future holds for Thomas Tuchel, because we're not really sure what the situation is going to look like at Chelsea Football Club, given the change of ownership. Jurgen Klopp signed a new deal and he'll continue at Liverpool, and he'll be delighted, as I say, that he's completed the set in terms of winning all the trophies available to him as Liverpool boss. But look, what a final it was. Really, really good. Really, really good. I wanted to just talk about a couple of players in particular. I wanted to talk about Luis Diaz. I know he didn't score today, but what an impact that guy has made since coming to the Premier League and coming to England. Every time he gets the ball, you kind of get off your seat in expectation, and you could really see that in the stadium today. Every time he got off the feet, got the ball, the Liverpool fans were up on their feet and anticipating a moment of magic, anticipating him producing something. And in the end, he wasn't able to today, but what a signing that's been. And it's again highlighting the fact that Liverpool are incredibly good at recruitment and incredibly good at identifying the right talent. I also wanted to talk about Marcos Alonso. I think he gets a lot of stick from Chelsea fans in particular. I've heard a lot of Chelsea fans be critical of him over the last few years. And while defensively for me there are questions about Marcos Alonso, going forward I think he's superb. I think he really, really is. I think he causes teams all sorts of problems. He's got a brilliant left foot. He's got a good brain as well. Like when he gets forward, I feel like he makes the right decisions a lot. Able to pick people out, but also capable of scoring goals. I mean, there can't be many wing-backs in Premier League history that have scored more goals than Marcos Alonso, or that have been involved in more goals than Marcos Alonso. Now, I haven't looked that up, but just off the top of my head, when I think about it, he's got to be right up there. Obviously stepped up as well and converted a really, really good penalty kick as well. I've seen some, and this is a little bit of a light-hearted bit to kind of end the video on and to end my sort of comments on. But I did see some people on Twitter having a bit of a moan at Jurgen Klopp and Thomas Tuchel because of the attire with which they decided to turn up to the FA Cup final in. And I get that. Look, I mean, the cup final is any other game for them, right? It obviously has a golden sort of prize at the end of it. There's a trophy at the end of it. So I understand why people feel that it needs to be respected a little bit more. But gone are the days of the managers putting on their suits for the FA Cup final and all of that stuff. And, you know, it just, these two guys are exactly, you know, what it says on the tin. They're two passionate coaches. Jurgen Klopp, by the way, becomes the first German coach as well to win the FA Cup. That's another record, another thing he'll have on his CV to be pleased about and look back on. But yeah, I mean, I just found it funny that people were like looking to have a go about that and looking to discuss that, when actually you should be focusing on the quality of football that we saw today from both sides. So credit to both of them for a cracking final. It's the kind of final you want to see. Sometimes these games can be cagey and they can be dull and they can be non-events. But here we saw plenty of good stuff going both ways. Both sides very good, both going forward and defensively at times when they needed to be as well. Lots of good, strong individual performers as well. And a very enjoyable final ended with the drama of a penalty shootout. Don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're new. And I'll be back tomorrow with some Arsenal related content as we begin looking ahead to that big game that we have coming up on Monday night at Newcastle. Cheers.